Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're really going to pull apart the structure of a pretty complex conspiracy theory. We're going to map out, step by step, how one particular source claims to connect all these groups that seem totally unrelated into one single hidden plot.
So the source material we're looking at kicks off with this exact question. It's like a riddle, right? It lists all these groups that, on the surface, look completely different. Some even seem like enemies. But the whole point the author is trying to make is that these differences, they're not real. They're supposedly just a big illusion.
All right, let's get into it. The first layer of this whole thing is all about identifying the players you're supposed to see. You know, the ones out there on the public stage. These are the groups the author says you can see and hear, the ones openly criticizing mainstream Islamic thought.
So the text zeroes in on these four specific groups. And yeah, they might argue with each other in public, they might seem to be at odds, but the author claims that's all just an act. The theory goes that they're actually all on the same team, a single front, and each one has a specific job to attack Islam from a different direction. Which, leads to the obvious next question, right? If what we see is just a show, then who are these people really? The text argues that this whole diverse appearance is just, it's a mask. A very carefully built mask meant to hide one single, true identity.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. The author brings in this mechanism to explain how they keep this single identity a secret. And honestly, this idea is pretty much the key to the entire theory.
The text calls this taqiyya. It's basically described as a kind of religious concealment, a way for someone to hide what they truly believe. And according to the author, this is the tool that makes the whole deception possible. It lets these groups operate right out in the open, and supposedly, no one's the wiser.
And here it is, the big reveal. The author claims that under all those masks, the secularist, the Quranist, you name it, they all share one single secret identity: Zoroastrian Shiites. This is really the first major bombshell the theory drops.
And the author is absolutely certain about this. The text basically lays down a simple rule of thumb. If you see anyone attacking traditional Islamic texts or ideas, that's all the proof you need. You know for a fact they're one of these secret Zoroastrian Shiites. It's a pretty powerful formula because it takes a really complicated world and just simplifies it down to one clear truth. There's just no gray area here.
Okay, so let's peel back the next layer, because the theory doesn't just stop there. It turns out the Zoroastrian Shiites aren't even the ones at the top of the food chain. The author claims there's another group, an even more powerful one, pulling all the strings from the shadows.
So now we've got a clear hierarchy. That group we just talked about, the one that seemed like the main villain, they get kind of demoted. They're not the bosses. They're just intermediaries, servants, as the text calls them, who are working for a hidden master. And this slide really lays out that power structure perfectly. On one side, you have the servants, or Qudam. Those are the Zoroastrian Shiites. And on the other side, you have the masters, or Sada. And who are they? Well, they're only ever called by this really cryptic name, the ones who have incurred wrath.
And again, the source is really clear on this. This whole master-servant thing, it's not a secret inside the conspiracy. It's supposedly a core belief that every single member knows with total certainty. It's actually part of the glue that holds them all together.
So, you might be wondering, if you have this big, complicated two-level conspiracy, how in the world does it work without getting busted? Well, the author claims there's a very specific playbook they follow.
And here it is. Step 1. The servants have to go out and publicly trash their masters. It's all about creating a convincing cover story. This fake fight then helps them pull in followers who don't know any better. And the whole time, they're secretly getting money and protection from the very same masters they're badmouthing. The end goal? Get the servants into positions of power.
And that is the ultimate goal. The author argues this whole complicated scheme, the secret identities, the fake fights, it's all for one thing. And you see this a lot in these kinds of all-encompassing theories. There's always one single, ultimate goal that ties everything together and makes all the chaos make sense.
Okay, so let's put it all together now. The author adds a few last details to really complete the picture, and this involves breaking down the different levels of loyalty inside the conspiracy.
So according to the text, there are basically two tiers of members. First, you've got your political followers. They're useful, but they're not fully in the inner circle. They could probably walk away. But then you have the true believers, the doctrinal adherents. These are the people who are all in, completely committed, and because of that, they get the full trust and backing of the masters.
So, how do you make sure those true believers can never leave? Well, according to this source, the conspiracy has a really brutal way of keeping them in line. Apparently, new members are forced to commit serious crimes, and it's all recorded. That becomes blackmail material, pretty much guaranteeing they stay loyal forever. There's just no way out.
And this quote really ties it all up. The author ends with a warning, basically saying, "Don't be fooled. Any public fight you see between these groups, it's just a show for people who aren't in on the secret. And if you believe it, well, that just shows you're naive and you can't see the real truth that this text has supposedly laid out for you."
So there you have it. That's the complete structure of the argument from this particular source, and it kind of leaves us with a bigger question to think about, doesn't it? When a theory like this comes along, one that claims to have a single, hidden answer for everything, how does that change the way we look at a world that's, let's be honest, usually pretty complicated and messy?